I honestly don't know if I'm the villain here or just the person who finally grew a spine, but I need to know if you would have done the same thing. Imagine standing at the altar, looking out at a sea of faces, and realizing the two people who were supposed to love you most in the world chose a literal garage sale over your wedding day. My parents didn't show up because my sister, their golden child, decided to host a neighborhood yard sale that same morning, and they couldn't possibly leave her to handle the heavy lifting alone. Fast forward 6 months, and those same people are banging on the windows of my brand new $135,000 Porsche 911 GT3, demanding that I sell it to pay off my sister's credit card debt because family helps family. Was I wrong for literally laughing in their faces and driving off while my mother was mid-sentence? Tell me, would you have given them a single cent, or would you have done exactly what I did? To understand how we got to this point, you have to understand the dynamic of the Miller family. Growing up, I was the reliable one, which is just a nice way of saying I was the invisible one. My sister, Chloe, is 3 years younger than me, and from the moment she was born, she was the sun and my parents were the planets orbiting her. If Chloe had a cold, the house went into lockdown. If I had a broken arm, I was told to stop being dramatic and help set the table with my good hand. I learned early on that if I wanted anything in this life, I had to get it myself. I started working at 14, saved every penny, and put myself through a rigorous engineering program while Chloe was busy finding herself, on my parents' dime. By the time I was 27, I had a high-paying career in tech and had met the love of my life, Sarah. When Sarah and I got engaged, I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be the moment my parents finally saw me. I shared every detail with them, hoping for a glimmer of excitement. Instead, every time I mentioned the wedding, my mom would pivot to Chloe's latest business venture, which was usually just another multi-level marketing scheme that my parents were funding. When we set the date for a beautiful Saturday in June, my mom actually checked her calendar and said, "Oh, Chloe was thinking of doing her big spring cleaning that weekend. We'll have to see." I thought she was joking. I really did. I sent out the invitations, paid for their hotel rooms near the venue, and even bought my dad a custom suit. On the morning of the wedding, I got a text from my father that read, "Hey sport, Chloe's got a lot of furniture to move for the yard sale, and your mother's back is acting up. We can't make drive. Have a great day. Send pictures." I stood there in my tuxedo, holding my phone, feeling like a fool. Sarah was incredible. She held me while I shook with rage and hurt. And then she told me that we were going to have the best day of our lives with the people who actually showed up. And we did, but a part of me hardened that day. I realized that the family I had been trying to please didn't exist. After the honeymoon, I went completely no contact. I didn't block them. I wanted them to see my life, but I stopped answering calls, stopped going to Sunday dinners, and stopped sending money when emergencies cropped up. I focused entirely on my career and my new life with Sarah. We were doing well, really well. After a massive project bonus and some smart investing, I finally decided to treat myself to my dream car. I've been a gearhead since I was a kid, and pulling that shark blue Porsche into my driveway was the most cathartic moment of my life. It represented every hour of overtime and every bit of independence I'd fought for. Of course, the invisible son having a luxury sports car didn't stay a secret for long. My cousin posted a photo of me and the car on Instagram, and within 2 hours, my phone was blowing up. It was the first time I'd heard from my parents in half a year. They didn't ask how married life was. They didn't apologize for missing the wedding, My mom's first text was, "I saw the car, it looks expensive, your sister is in trouble, Leo, we need to talk." It turns out Chloe's business had collapsed, leaving her $80,000 in debt, and my parents had already remortgaged their house to help her. They were drowning, and they saw my car as their life raft. So, that's the situation I was in. I had the means to save them, but I also had the memory of an empty front row at my wedding. I had a choice to make: be the bigger person and bail out the people who abandoned me, or let them face the consequences of their own favoritism. Before I tell you what happened when they showed up at my house uninvited, I want you to pause. Go down to the comments right now and tell me, what would you have done? Would you have sold the car to save your family, or would you have kept driving? I didn't have to wait long for a confrontation. 2 days later, I was washing the Porsche in my driveway when my parents' beat-up sedan pulled up. They didn't even say hello. My dad got out, looked at the car, and said, "You really spent over $100,000 on a toy while your sister is facing bankruptcy. Do you have any idea how selfish that looks?" I just kept scrubbing the rims. I told him that what I do with my money is my business, and since they weren't interested in my life 6 months ago, I didn't see why they were interested now. My mom started crying the classic guilt trip. She said they made a mistake about the wedding, but that Chloe is fragile and needs them more than I do because I'm strong and successful. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "I'm strong because I had to be. I'm successful because I didn't have you guys to lean on. You chose a yard sale over my wedding. You chose Chloe's furniture over your son. So now, you can choose how to pay her debts, because I'm not part of this equation." My dad actually tried to grab the hose out of my hand, yelling that I owed them for raising me. I told him to get off my property before I called the police. As I backed the Porsche into the garage, my mom was screaming that I was an ungrateful monster and that they'd never forgive me. The aftermath was a total circus. They tried to rally the extended family against me, but once my cousins and aunts heard the full story about the wedding and the yard sale, the support for my parents evaporated. Chloe ended up having to take a job she hates and is slowly paying off her debts, and my parents are living on a very tight budget because of that second mortgage. We still don't speak, and honestly, my life is quieter and better for it. Every time I start that engine and hear the roar of the flat 6, I'm reminded that I don't owe anyone my happiness, especially not people who only value me when I have something they can take. Looking back, I realize that some people don't want a relationship with you. They want a relationship with what you can provide for them. Choosing myself wasn't about the car. It was about finally setting a boundary that should have been there years ago. It's a hard lesson to learn, but sometimes you have to let people deal with the mess they made, even if they're family. If you think I made the right call by keeping the car and cutting them off, make sure to like this video. If you've ever dealt with a golden child, sibling, or parents who only call when they need money, subscribe to the channel and share your story in the comments. I read as many as I can, and it helps to know I'm not alone in this kind of mess. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all in the next story.